Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Unstoppable Consciousness. I'm your host, Lisa LaJoie, business intuitive and metaphysical mentor. And I'm very excited about today's conversation that I wanted to bring up with all of you. It's beautiful here. The summer's coming. I live in a place where there's 4 seasons, so it's always wonderful when we go from spring into the hot weather. It's just very rejuvenating, and it really makes me think. And I know a lot of us have had just huge years of contemplation, overview, pivoting, reorganizing ourselves as leaders, as people, as humans, as mothers, as daughters, as fathers, as parents, as co-workers. I mean, it's just been really an extraordinary experience to witness and to be in. And what's interesting about the subject that I want to bring up today, which is the depth of transformation, really the depth of transformation, and dealing with that experience of when you're in a place where you really do have to open a door to yourself, a door that you might have kept locked in for a long time. You might have even thrown the key away. But it seems like without opening this door, you can't make progress in your life. And there comes a time where you just absolutely have to make the progress that's required for you to get to the next level. And part of the reason I'm sharing this is because I've been going through that in this last year. There's been so much change, wonderful and saddening, and so many opportunities for growth. And most of my clients have been going through that, and some have gone back to old patterns of the way things were because they're too afraid to move forward, which is very natural and normal that people will resist growth, which is why I'm having this podcast. And those that are just rising to the occasion of themselves and becoming the unstoppable force of consciousness that they are choosing to be in their lives. And it's not easy doing that. I'm just going to be straight with you here. It's not easy. There's so many of us that are talking about growth and self-help and self-development and, perspective and mindset, and so many amazing people out in the world opening doors to growth and opportunity. And I remember one time listening to Oprah when she was doing her show, and she said most people don't change, and that was one of the saddest things for her in doing her show, was so many people who she encouraged through her Oprah show, she would realize that so many people didn't change. And I know when she made her pivot, using her as an example to try to help people actually have the tools for change, that still there's this thing that we do as human beings. And I remember that really touched me when I listened to her. She was on some, I think, an interview, and she was talking about that. And, the reason I'm saying Oprah is because, she's not the only one. Like Tony Robbins or all these big people that are, they're just making billions and millions of dollars helping people. To hear them say how hard it is for humanity and humans to change is, interesting to me because of the enormous amount of people that they touch or reach. And, so it fascinates me. It fascinates me to why we have such a hard time becoming the unstoppable consciousness that we can be. And for me, the formation of unstoppable consciousness and becoming that means that your conscious intention is putting you into a position where you become that being, that unstoppable being that's living your true purpose. And, you're here fighting for who you're supposed to be in this world, and not fighting with the fight, but fighting for yourself. And going against things that don't suit that which you are, and how hard that actually is to go through the journey of those transformations where you have to stand and rise into a place where you will lose people, you will be uncomfortable, you will have to say no to people, you will have to change things that have been comfort zones for very long periods of time in your life. You will have to put some boundaries down. You will have to get uncomfortable. And it's interesting to me because, I'm an expert in my field, and, I've been teaching metaphysics and spirituality, and especially intuition, being a born intuitive with a little bit of a higher range than most people. having to stand in a place where I'm going to go against what people feel is safe for them, because it's very hard for people to think somebody's actually tuning in with me and getting to this deep level of truth by being intuitive, clairvoyant, a person that can see into things. And everybody has intuition, but not everybody has the level of capacity to see into things that I do. And a lot of that's just training. A lot of that's like long-term practice. And a part of it is just, I was really born with a gift and I need to use it and be that oracle that just helps people and lets them on their merry way to take actions in whatever way they want through some of the guidance that I've been blessed to give and teach about, whether it's empowering themselves energetically, learning to become that unstoppable consciousness, and these courses that I offer, or understanding true development of intuition, what it means, because we really are powerful, but we've lost our capacity for a variety of reasons. Many people have lost their capacity to connect to themselves. So, I made it my life purpose to teach people to connect back to themselves and help them learn how to do it in easy, practical ways, because a lot of us just forgot, or we were conditioned to disconnect, and how painful that is. Like, that's just really painful. And I don't think that people realize the depth with which they're hurt because they learn to disconnect and just follow family systems, social systems, conditioned systems, so everybody can be happy and comfortable. I spent most of my life going against the grain, and then sometimes wanting to fit in, and feeling the loneliness of that, which is what I wanted to talk to you about today. The feelings that come with transformation, the courage that it takes to be that honest with yourself, and the loneliness that can come from it. And I've been through that many times in my life, many, many, many times. And most of my clients have gone through that too. When they're making an upgrade, there's a space inside where it feels really lonely, because nobody can get on the journey with you and your purpose and your own soul but you, or your business but you, or your passions but you, or your mission in life but you. And people can hold space for you, and they can support you, and they can do all those amazing things that we do as friends and as family and as people who care. But there are these moments where it's really between you and yourself, how you want to show up to the new level of growth in your life and your new ascension in life. And it's interesting to me to watch. And it's, this last year has been really something. The key takeaways for me are really recognizing, how people really need to grow. How much pain there is in the world that's been exposed and brought up. How much conditioning is going on. How we've made it normal to be a narcissist. How we've just made it normal to be self-righteous and scream at each other and yell at each other and be mad at each other and kill people and have war. And like, that's like almost normal now, It's painful to watch. It's painful to watch, but so needed to be exposed. That creates an element of loneliness. I know it does for me, because I look out there and I think, wow, like, how far away are we from our humanity? That we've created so many social structures, social systems, family systems. Like, I know a lot of people grow up in great families, and then there's people who don't, like myself. Like, were my parents good people? They did the best they could. Were my relationships with them over the course of time healed? Yes, because I initiated that, because I'm a healer. And I made it a point to heal relationships that have been broken in my life. And I made it a point to do my best to try to reconcile what I could, because I did learn so many things through the journey of my own transformations and my own recovery of myself and my life, that it became important to, first of all, give back to my parents and let them know that I could see things and what I went through, Some they knew, some they didn't know, some they couldn't know because they just were not conscious enough to realize that their actions had such an impact on their children because they were just surviving their own shit, which I fully understand now. And it's easy for me to blame them. I have a reason to. I don't, because there's no point once you've had these open and honest conversations with your people you love, like I did with my parents. A lot of forgiveness comes from just revealing honest truth. And I didn't know what I was going to get. I had no idea. And I'll tell you what, that was a lonely journey because I knew for sure that I didn't know what I was going to get with them. And I had to make really hard decisions to let go and to put boundaries down because they didn't get it. And I've had to do that my whole life with people. And everybody has to go through that. Unless you're totally fake and you never have any problems, which is pretty much impossible. Every human being goes through challenges and conflicts with someone in their life at one point. So we all know what it's like to have an opposition or have people in our lives which don't necessarily support or love who we are. They don't know how to come close. They don't know how to show up. They don't know how to love us the way we are and just accept us because of their own crap inside and their own pain. Everybody's gone through that. And that's a very painful circumstance. But it's also one we must persevere. And it's one we must understand is our responsibility to delegate to ourselves, to take action so that we can move forward. And we can bring peace to those that we deeply love, even if we can't reconcile with them. That the truth sets us free, irregardless. Because once things are spoken, then we can make choices. And people can see why we're making the choices because we've been clear with them. You know, and I question this a lot, you know, like I have lots of clients who have big difficulty making boundaries with themselves, with, you know, I work with business owners and entrepreneurs and conscious seekers, people looking to improve themselves at a level of truth that will make people uncomfortable, even them. You know, I work with those high performers, those people who are ready to take action. They want to because they understand that leveling up means going to new places of growth, which allow for optimization of self and life. And that's what helps us become that unstoppable conscious being, which allows us to be in the highest state of truth, which is the most difficult thing for most humanity to do. It's so much easier to blame and get mad and be pissed off and be frustrated and get angry and you know, and shift the responsibility and shift the blame and shift the truth. And it's not the way. That's much more lonely than it is to know that you've done your best to tell somebody who you are, to tell them what your boundaries are. And if they choose to go in opposition of that, if they choose to live in their pattern and not want to take responsibility to have a course correction in your relationship with them, that's okay. But you know that you've done your part in a way that you can be proud of and that you could feel good about. And sometimes that is lonely. Like I've had to shut doors with people, and I know everybody listening to this has had to shut doors with people, whether it's temporary or permanently, which really makes us sad because we love sometimes people that aren't good for us, or we just love people that are not able to show up in our lives the way that we really wish they would, because it would make everything so much better. And it would help us and help them feel good. And sometimes they just can't. Sometimes we have fights and you can't, you know, we have arguments and fights with people we love and we just can't reconcile it. And it's just the easiest route, you know, people can take is to run. I'm not a runner. I'm super clear as much as I can be when people are being shitty with me. I try my best to let them know my boundaries. I try my best to let people know where I'm at. And it blows my mind when I do these moments of inventory and opportunities come. You know, my birthday just passed and I've had a lot of conversations with in my group coachings around this subject of the loneliness of stepping up and into your growth And what it actually means sometimes when people fall away because you're going to another level and they don't want to be on that level of truth with you. They want to play small or play in their lives the way that they're comfortable being. And that is something we have to honor and respect. That growing sometimes means that we lose people and we don't want to. And the only reason we have to is because they don't want to play with us anymore at the new level that we're going to. And if that's your problem too, that's a good problem to have. Even though it might be a little lonely for a while and sad because somebody's been in your life for a long time, if that is the end result, I promise you'll feel better in the end. You will feel better in the end. And new people will find you, because when you let go of the old, outdated circumstances, new energy comes in. We start magnetizing our new level of growth. It starts finding us, because that's how it works. We're a magnetic field that calls growth and change into form. So when you do have a growth opportunity, your consciousness, your energetics, your energy will call forward the new that needs to come forward. But there is like a gray zone where there's a time period where sometimes when we're letting go, I'll give you an example. Like you walk away from a job and, you've been in a job for a long time. You're in a company, everybody there in your department. You have like 20 friends that you're just all compadres. You're working there for a long time and you have to leave or you get fired. That's very lonely, because you spend all day long with 20 people that know you, connect with you for 20 years, and then they're just not there anymore every day. That's a huge change and transformation. And you try to rise to the occasion. What I recommend people do is rise to that occasion of consciousness, and you start making intentions about what you're looking for after an experience like that, so you can anchor in some growth. But we always have to lick the wounds. We always do. There's no way around that. We have to lick the wounds. So that loneliness is what I wanted to talk about. Going from loneliness and longing to letting go, and then moving towards the new level of attraction in your life. And the new things that are trying to find their way to you as you're processing the pain of letting go and moving forward into something new, and trusting that process of life, and being an active participant is what I recommend that we become. I'm going to be an active participant in this next level of growth and show up to it thoughtfully and willfully, and see what I have to do to raise the bar and attract new into my life based on what I've had to let go of. And it's amazing what we'll find. Amazing what we'll find. For me, this last year taught me a lot about, of course, and I'm sure a lot of you are going through this too, about who people are really and how they're going to show up. A situation like a world circumstance like COVID, with all the tragedies also, and the exposure of the true darkness that lives in humanity, and what are we putting up with? And I have a big list of things which I'm sure you could figure out yourself, from, who people running a country that are full-blown narcissists to, the fact that police officers think it's fine to abuse anybody. And those things are being called out left, right, and center because of actions that people are taking, and these actions are being exposed. But it's a shock, which is where some of this loneliness can come from, to recognize that there's many people who believe in these heinous things. And it's a shock to see how much darkness there still is left in humanity, and how much darkness there is left in human beings still. This has propelled me into other levels of standards and lots of conversations of what do you do as a person of consciousness? What do you do with yourself? What the hell do you do with this pain? Watching and witnessing the unbelievable actions of human beings. What do you do? there's a few stages, that the first stage is that true feeling of sadness and, deciding what kind of actions are going to be the right actions for you. And I have heard many different stories from friends and colleagues and clients and family of like, well, I said one thing and I was basically, I had 100 opinions coming to me because I had one opinion about what's going on in the world. They posted something on social media and they got an onslaught of attack because, people think it's normal to attack other people for their viewpoints instead of finding some kind of understanding and compassion that we all have a different view, and yet at the same time, when it goes against the vein of who you are and you say something and then you get attacked for what you're saying, that makes you also feel really lonely and isolated and terrible about your energy and who you are and why aren't people understanding and do I have to conform? And there's a tremendous amount of pressure in standing in who you are and finding your way through. And so some of the things that, I've had to do myself and that I've watched other people do really beautifully is to discern where is the right position to stand and to pick fights that are worth picking because you're willing to stand for the fights that you're picking and you're willing to stand for what you're saying and knowing what your priorities are, because people will tell you you should do this and you should do that, and if you're of a certain color, you should be standing in a certain position. And if you're, if you're somebody who makes an impact in the world, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. And there's so much attack on everything and everybody right now. And social media is a huge culprit of it. And news also. It's like you have no peace to just be. Somebody has an opinion about who you are and what you're doing. And if you're an influencer in the world, man, you're getting hit quite substantially in many ways, and it's important to find your own boundaries and your own things that you stand for so that you can feel good about doing those things and making the impact, and to remember not to lose sight of the impact that you're here to make with your personal purpose. You don't have to be like everybody else. You're not even meant to. You're meant to follow what's deep in your heart. And if what's deep in your heart is to have a voice about things that are going on in the world or in your life or in your work, and you could stand for that, then do it. Discern the strategy. Make sure you're looking at your strategy. Make sure you're ready for that growth. Make sure you've checked in with yourself and that you're ready to rise into that person who has a voice in whatever way that matters for you and your purpose. Dive into yourself. Ask yourself, what matters to me now? These are actions to take. What is important to me in the world around me, in the world in front of me, and in the world within me? Because the impact is happening inside in all these layers of our life experiences. One of the most important things we can do is check in with ourselves. Check in with what's right. Go inside and look for our intuition. Go inside and look for our resistances, our obstacles, our growth potential, so that we find our way through. Our mindset, what are we believing that's putting us into these different positions? How do we want to handle growth? I have so many stories in the last year. I'm telling you, it's crazy, a lot. And there's a lot of craziness out there. I'll give you a quick example, which I find amusing. I've had, at least in the last year, 100 people, simple example, on Facebook, friend me, who are business coaches, who if I say yes to them, they're brand new into the field. They're coaches. They're brand new in the field, business, life coaches. And they're bombarding me to join their group, to do this. And they're trying to connect with the people on my personal Facebook to pillage clients. I don't even understand this. You're brand new to the world. Instead of building a relationship with me, you're just joining my page to pillage what's there and to try to take advantage of the fact that I'm a business intuitive and I have people on my page that are clients, and there's what's going on here? And then they unfriend me right away when nothing happens or I say something. Like, I don't even understand. If I'm saying yes to you, it's because I think you're interesting from what I can see. So no, I don't do that anymore. If I don't know you and we do a messenger, you're trying to friend me, and now I message and we have a conversation. If it doesn't fit, I just don't even say yes anymore, where it was a lot more open. But people are bringing these, I call them like savage sales strategies into creating really bad relationships in order to take from somebody else, which I don't even like. I mean, there's pivoting and then there's pillaging. And I know maybe your people are pivoting to try to create something new in their life experience, or they took a course and now everybody, like, there's so much crap out there that has no experience behind it, learning from non-credible teachers. There's just so much of it, and partially because of the internet and partially because of COVID, and some people are really doing their best to try, but it's a bit outrageous. Like, hi, how long have you've been doing this work? Oh, I've been doing it for about 2 months, and yeah, it's $300, please. Because they can manipulate people to pay that, but they have no substantial experience, which allows them to charge that. Blows me away. The lack of integrity that's out in the world today. It blows me away. Really, it does. And that feels lonely too. You know, I look at that and I think, God, like, is it getting worse? How could it be? And here I am trying to say how important it is that you stay in your purpose, and how important it is for you to find your boundaries, and how important it is for all of us to keep our environments clean. If you're in your social or in your world or in your personal life and in your experience, keep it clean. If somebody doesn't make you feel good, you don't need to continue trying to figure out how to make the relationship work. If it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right, and move on. You know, I hired somebody this year who was recommended by a very credible person who trusted them, and I hired them to, organize all my stuff and, get my productivity going and give me some, opportunities to leverage my business. And I had a couple of candidates in mind, and I said, maybe I'm going to try this because of the experience that was there and because of the persons who recommended them. And in the end, what I found was, the first 2 months were okay. And then the last 6 weeks was dealing with a person just taking advantage of me. Actually saying things to me like, well, I have so many clients and this and that. I'm like, I'm paying you to do this work. I don't care how many clients you have. Do what you say you're going to do, not following up. All these little details started showing up about how they were actually going to be integral or not, consistent or not, and complete the work or not, because I had an end date. I said, we'll do this for 3 months. Here were the expectations. Everything was set. 4 months, I think it was. And the last 6 weeks started getting iffy. It was still okay. And then about the last 3 weeks, I could see the person was just like, we're coming to an end here. So I'm not even going to bother doing what, I said I'm going to do. Became just non-digestible. So I walked away. I said, listen, I can see what you're doing. It's super clear. You're basically ripping me off at this point. You're just not doing anything you say you're going to do. So I'll pay you for another month when I paid for 1 month already. And you did nothing. And when I look back and I evaluated all the work that actually was done, it was all right. But the last 3 weeks, really bad news. It blew me away to watch somebody think they had the right to just do whatever they want when they were getting paid to do a job. And there's a lot of that right now. There's a lot of that, taking advantage, manipulation, going after whatever it is that you want. And a lot of it is just there's so many opportunities and platforms that allow us to share our work, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And then there's just a lot of people who can't and don't have integrity taking advantage of that situation. And, when you're in need in your business or in your life, you're looking for help. You're looking for help. You're asking for it because you're not sure about what you're doing, which puts us in a vulnerable position. And so it's so important to stay on track. And, for me, some of my boundaries are stay on it, know everything that people are doing. And I've had other people ask, well, I just want to, make a salary. And nope, you know what? It's unless I can trust you, then I'm not going to give you a salary. Like, that's not how it works. Trust is earned. It's not just given. I mean, that's how we end up feeling terrible about decisions that don't end up working out, is because we don't vet a person. We don't make sure that they are what they say they are and keep an eye on it if they're in our business or in our life. That allows for, transitions of trust that allow for the transformation and the growth in the relationship, which allow for more money, more trust, more investment in the business that you have and you own, and I'm like, I know what that's like. I've been through that, and I've, had different people I've hired and come and gone, some great experiences, some tough experiences. It's normal. I mean, that's just running a business. Sometimes it's going to be great, and sometimes you're going to realize, that doesn't work. And it's interesting because some of the things that I learned, like, listen, I do this for a living. I'm a clairvoyant. I have a business helping business owners. And, I've been doing this for a long time. Ask me if I nourished my intuition. I mean, I had to get a knock upside the head because I was just so like, oh, okay, this is great. Somebody's helping me out. I don't have to worry about this right now. That won't happen again, because that's a weak spot. Like, I just wanted support in an area where I wasn't sure what exactly to do. Never again, and now I'm like, whoa, like, that's crazy. But, I had to learn the hard way, and now I'm in reflection, and hey, is this really, who are you? What do you want to do? How are we going to step it up here? What do you stand for again? And I'm giving this guidance on my podcast here to say you could do it too. Like, sometimes you just have to reevaluate where you are and decide what your next level of growth is, even if it may be a little bit lonely for a while and it may be hard because you have to manage some things on your own. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, this is a big theme of authenticity, is having to let go of certain situations, people, places, and things. Because if you're living in authenticity, that's going to be a natural course of events. That there will be moments and times where we need to say goodbye, we need to move on, we need to reconcile, we need to go on a journey on our own, where, you may need to go into the desert for a while by yourself and sort yourself out about if this is still right for you with yourself, you're in a core, with the universe, whatever your faith is, with your soul, with your consciousness, like, is this, what I'm doing, is this still right for me, And there's times in life where that's really important. And that this year has really brought that to the forefront for many of us, to reflect and overview humanity, first of all, who we are, what we're doing, where our security is, how we want to live our lives, what we believe in, what we count on, what we rely on, and what we need, and what we actually have to become. So this whole podcast is about the growth and taking the opportunity and remembering to go into the inner place and go into the course of yourself. The traveling that road in the desert. Course correct. If you're going through any of the stuff I'm talking about and you feel like you've lost who you are and you're really not sure how the things that are happening, or if your faith has been shaken a little bit right now and you're not really sure how to restore it, and you're like, man, like, how is this all happening in my life or in the world around me? Like, what is going on? Get in the desert and walk the course. Walk it. Go look. Go on that treasure hunt and find yourself. And ask yourself really important questions. Who am I now? What do I need to reconcile? What do I need to clean up and let go of? What makes me stressed, overwhelmed, and uncomfortable? What do I need to do with those things? Listen to yourself. Ask yourself. Allow yourself to answer. You don't have to act on anything. You can make a plan if the things you're telling yourself are overwhelming and scary. And God, I know what that feels like. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to watch how people really are when you do make good decisions for yourself, or you do have integrity. I see it all the time in my practice and in my coaching. You know, when somebody stands for who they are, they usually lose somebody, you know, and that's hard. It's just, you know, when you love somebody and you don't want to lose them, or you don't want to lose your group, or you're this or you're that, and, you know, people, you know, are in their own opinions or judgments, or it doesn't fit anymore. You know, you're in a collective and you're like, this just doesn't fit anymore. You have to rise to yourself, and you need to go on the treasure hunt of yourself to find out where the gold is and what you want to do, you know, and how you want to share yourself and the new gold that you found in yourself with others, the new treasure of yourself with others. And it's not an easy journey, but it's one that's a must. And it's one that's a must always in anyone's lifetime. We all have that at least one time in our life where we must go in the desert and find ourselves again and remember our purpose and reconcile with ourselves the new places where we're willing to go and what we have to become in order to do that. The good news is whatever you have to become, you already are. It's just a matter of activating that and finding out what you might need to practice in order to hold space for that part of you that's just ready to rise, that was just waiting for you to say yes. I hope this has helped you, for those of you that are going through the little bit of a lonely journey and a confusing journey in the world or in your own world inside. I hope this has helped you just find a way to know that you're not alone, to know that I'm on that journey too, and I'm with you. And we have to stay the course. We must. We must. And your soul will find you again. If you feel lost, you just need a little bit of time for that to happen. We'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.